Tracy here with the Oasis for Natural Healing. So, I am just waiting for Instagram to kind of catch up. Okay, so I wanted to kind of talk to you first off. Well, I don't know about you, but how's the weather out by you guys? So we are having a lot of snow. And the cool thing about, doing quantum nutrition testing is I can do it anywhere. So even if the weather kind of gets a little, you know, um, bad, you can still have appointments with me and you can do it virtual. I'm actually doing this from home because the roads are just kind of a little bit gloppy, and most of my patients wanted to do their appointments from home. So I get to do this from the comfort of my own home. But hopefully the weather by you guys is not bad. I don't know if you guys want to type in the comments like where you guys are from, and how's the weather by you guys. Hopefully you guys are safe, and hopefully that it's not too bad of a condition wherever you're at. But yeah, we really haven't had much snow this past winter. So we're kind of getting hit now. Um, but yeah, I wanted to talk to you guys really about, like, is it really the flu or is it something else? And a lot of people are coming in with, sick, being having these chronic coughs, and like coughs that are just lingering on. And even before flu season started, these coughs are just have been horrific, and people are not feeling well. And I don't know if you guys have heard the term of smart dust. And if you guys have, please comment in the chat if you guys have heard about it. I want to kind of actually talk to you guys about that. And you can kind of do a little bit of research on it. So, but I'm going to discuss actually what's kind of going on with smart dust. So, it was actually first explored in 1994 by the RAND Corporation for the Defense of Advanced Research Projects Agency. So, DARPA, and it was the first smart like dust was implanted in a mammal's body in 2010s. Okay, so in the 2010 something like that. So, and this is actually, so these are devices about the size of a grain of sand. So they're very, very, very tiny, and they're like nanoparticles of technology, and they can detect light, temperature, movement, sound, chemicals, and air pressure. They can also be used to monitor the environment and human activity and operated on a computer network wirelessly. So fun times, right? So yeah, so you can kind of do a little bit of research. And I don't know, we we holistic practitioners, like, we kind of talk back and forth and stuff like that. And one of the things that we're noticing is like there's like a lot of fog. And there's been a lot of fog like around for, I don't know, several months. And people have been having these chronic coughs and chronic things, and just like, I don't know if you guys have noticed that, or if you guys have experienced this, or if you guys are just like winding up with respiratory issues that are just not going away. Um but we're actually kind of finding that, and like this fog and stuff is just ridiculous. And it's not just in one area. It's not just happening like in one particular spot in the country. Like, my colleagues are in multiple states, and we're noticing it all over the place. And it's actually, people are muscle testing for this smart dust. And, we're able to actually help with these things. And like somebody who has a chronic cough, there's different things that we can use, like binders and stuff that helps with radiation and things like that. And their coughs are getting better. But one of the things is that they can actually wind up, having some um flu-like symptoms, which is kind of crazy. So people are having like flu-like symptoms with getting exposed to smart dust, and having a lot of chronic coughs and a lot of respiratory issues. Um, and it's just really not safe. So you're actually inhaling some of these particles. So what can you do about it? Well, now this is not to go getting anybody all like freaked out and stuff like that. So, you know, wearing, a mask, that's not going to do much. Half of the masks don't even work, and um that's not gonna help, but you have to be armored with knowledge. So, good binders, good drainage, good immune support, and things like that can really make a big, huge difference. I actually got exposed to it and I had this like horrible cough. Like I actually felt like garbage. So, and when I'm down and out for the count, I can't muscle test myself. So I just don't. So I actually have a practitioner and she actually had to muscle test me, and, I was actually put on a lot of Cellcore products. Cellcore is probably one of the best product lines out there for getting rid of toxins, for getting rid of chemicals and radiation and even mold, is one of the big things that, is I love Cellcore for. Also has some really, really potent, anti-parasitic stuff as well. And thank goodness within a couple days, I started actually feeling much better. So, and this stuff can lower your immune system. So I got like a double whammy. So I believe so this was about a month ago. So I actually was testing for smart dust and I was actually testing for a virus. So I had like a double whammy. And so I was on a couple different products. But thank goodness, I started feeling better pretty much within a couple days. So a lot of people are not aware that this stuff is going on, and that this is actually a real possibility of why you're sick. And they think that it's just a conspiracy theory and stuff like that. It's not. There's actually research about it. You can actually look it up, and it's kind of scary on what the government is actually trying to pull on us. They make it seem like, oh, it's for our benefit. Yeah, right. I don't think inhaling nanoparticles of like electromagnetic, you know, things into your lungs is really such a good thing. I don't think our bodies were meant to do that. But I wanted to talk to you in case you're having like any, chronic coughs and things like that, like what could possibly be going on. Um, so that way you're armed, you're prepared, and you know that there is help out there for you. If you really are having, if you don't think it's that and you really think that you're having the flu, instead, or you're having like upper respiratory type infection symptoms and things like that, there are other things that you can do too. Um, so one of my favorite herbs for upper respiratory is ginger. Ginger root is really good for upper respiratory infections. It's also good for the respiratory. It's really good for the gut. So heaven forbid you're sick and you're having it both, lung and your intestines are acting up. Ginger root can really support, gut inflammation, diarrhea, constipation. It's really good for the lungs, and it's an anti-inflammatory. So you can kind of help two areas with one herb. So I really love ginger root for that. Echinacea is fantastic for the immune system, so is elderberry. So these are some other things. Cat's claw can be really good. Again, let me state this. I am not your if I am not your practitioner, then please do your own research. This is not technically to replace medical advice and all that fun stuff. But seek with either your own holistic practitioner or your medical practitioner before starting any other supplements. But if you need to know like what supplements will help you if you do have the flu, or if you do have, some sort of virus and things like that, because things are getting a little bit scary, um, then yeah, so these are some really good herbs to help with your immune system. Um, some other really good herbs is antigraphis and astragalus. Those are some other really good herbs, and garlic is always like, if you take garlic and in a capsule form. Garlic also has some really good immune system benefits. Also, it's really actually good for your cardiovascular system too. So, a lot of these herbs, when taken properly and when you take the right ones for you, have multiple benefits other than just killing off viruses or bacteria. A lot of them can help out the kidneys, a lot of them can help out the liver, a lot of them are really good for the cardiovascular system. So, you're getting multiple health benefits with taking herbs and when you take the right ones for your body. Um, you also want to make sure that if you're going to kill off anything, that you're actually doing a lot of good drainage. Good drainage is really important. So things like, there's a supplement that I use from Standard Process and I muscle test. I use quantum nutrition testing to find out what supplements is right for that person because there's multiple whole food supplements that will help with drainage. So you don't want to just kill off any bacteria or any virus or even any parasite without supporting your drainage pathways. And what do I mean by that is basically kind of like your lymphatic system, your kidneys, and basically your bowels. You have to be able to drain out dead debris. When you're killing things off, you have to make sure that your drainage pathways are open. If they're not, killing off viruses, bacteria, and or even candida or parasites, they can release gunk into your system. So, did you know that parasites and bacteria and candida can have heavy metals and heavy chemicals in them? So, when you kill them off, they release toxins into your system. And if your drainage pathways are not open and not supported, guess who doesn't feel well killing these things off? You don't feel well. And then you feel like you got hit by a mad truck. So, making sure that you have good support. So, like, I love Standard Process. Spanish black radish, is really good. Antranex is really good. I use kale support a lot, whatever my patients are muscle testing for, because not each person is the same thing, needs the same supplement. So kale for kidney liver is really good from Cellcore, Lymphactive from Cellcore. I use KDIR. KDIR is actually really good, not only for the kidneys, but helps to break up kidney stones and gallstones. So that way you don't need surgery, but we can test and we can see how much your body actually needs for that. Sing from Systemic Formulas is really good for to supporting the lymph system. So if your lymph nodes are swollen and tender when you're sick, you want to support lymph drainage. So, and again, it just depends on which ones that you muscle test for, and we'll figure that out with quantum nutrition testing to figure out which ones are the best you need. Because half of the time, it's not even what the bottle says. And when your patients will want multiple forms of drainage, so not just one product, but and actually several from different lines of products usually work better, and also multiple from different product lines of different like herbs or whole food supplements that will support the immune system. So, and usually it's not just like one product line for the person. Like you might want, I don't know, three different product lines or three different supplements, and each one might be from a different product line. And that's going to be the best one for your system to get over whatever it is that you're sick with or acutely sick with or whatever you're dealing with, whether it's killing off parasites and stuff like that. So it's never like a protocol that I do because each person is individual, right? So we want to treat your body as an individual. Because if we're not, then we're comparing you to everybody else. And that's not the case. Your body is uniquely yours. So, and it's going to want something different, or even if you did want similar supplements or the same supplements as, I don't know, your spouse or your daughter or your mom or whatever, you still might want different doses. So it's very uniquely designed. It's a and unique design program specifically for the individual. So some of the other things that we do is not just for acute stuff, but we also work on chronic stuff too. So, like, for me, when I first got into this, I thought that holistic health was and I don't know, maybe you guys have had that experience, and I would love to hear if you did. You know, when I first got into holistic health, like, I was strictly, like, Western medicine all the way, baby. You know, I was a cardiac ICU nurse. Like, herbs? No, that's a bunch of bull. That's not gonna help, right? And I thought that was a whole bunch of malarkey. The funny thing is I actually got introduced to holistic health by accident through my veterinarian. And she actually did muscle testing on my pets. And when I first took a look at what she was doing, I was like, "Oh my gosh, what are we doing? Singing hands and or holding hands and singing Kumbaya? Like, what is this nonsense?" Like I was like, "Oh my gosh." I was so desperate though, like for my one pet that I was just like, "Okay, just do whatever you're gonna do and and hopefully it works." Like I was just kind of like, I can't believe I'm doing this. Like, I didn't want to like kind of turning a blind eye, like just do your voodoo-ish. And because I was really ingrained, that Western medicine had the answer for everything. And that's not really the case. And I started seeing results with my one pet. Then I started taking all of my pets to see her. And like from stopping bloody diarrhea with my like I had two cats at the time. And one, like I couldn't figure out which one, all of a sudden started having bloody diarrhea. And it scared me so much because I didn't know which one it was, and they were having it where, like and my cats at the time, like, were completely litter box trained. But, when a cat is litter box trained and all of a sudden they start having accidents and you see blood, like, that that's really bad. So and one of them was trying so desperately to make it to the litter box, but was actually going into the bathtub. Bless his little heart, he was, like, trying to at least do it in a confined area. So he would have bloody diarrhea, and I couldn't figure out which one. So I brought both of them into the vet, and she was actually able to muscle test and find out which one it was, and she's like, "Okay, it's your cat Stretch, and it's his gallbladder." And do you know within 3 days of starting supplements to support his gallbladder, the bloody diarrhea stopped? And I was, like, hooked. I was, like, hooked after that point. So then I started bringing all of my pets in to see her. Now, in the meantime, my own health went, like, plummeted. I was put on more psych meds, because I was, quote, unquote, "diagnosed with bipolar" because they said my lab work looked fine. Sound familiar? So my lab work looked fine, so I had a mental health issue. So how is it that they always deem, like, when you have mood swings that it's all in your head because your blood work is fine? Actually, that wasn't the case. But regardless, I was still like, for myself, I was still into Western medicine, and I was doing the holistic thing with my pets. And, um, so I wound up, being put more psych meds. My skin, which I had been born with, or almost pretty much born with ever since I can remember that I was little, I had really bad psoriasis and eczema, okay? To the point now, at this point, now I'm in my late 20s, early 30s, like, my skin was just horrific. My skin, like, I went to several different dermatologists, compound creams and medications and things like that were not working anymore, and it literally looked like I had third-degree burns on my hands, and my hands would split open, and I'd have, like, these deep, like it's called fissures, and I would have, like, these deep lines and cuts, and, like, my skin would split. It was so painful, and I'd be working in ICU, like, with my hands wrapped in Curlex trying to take care of patients because my skin was just so bad. I even would get, like, really bad infections in MRSA infections because of working in the hospital, even though we try to wash our hands and stuff like that. Let's just face it, the hospital is a very dirty place. So, like, I would unintentionally scratch my legs because my legs were just so raw and open and stuff like that, and I wound up getting MRSA infection, so cellulitis, skin infection with MRSA. It was not a pretty picture, and to the point where, like, I had a couple abscesses that actually had to be surgically removed, and, like, I was beside myself. So my last dermatologist I went to, so he finally that was the only one that decided to do a skin scraping to see if I possibly had, like, an underlying bacterial or candidal, so a yeast infection, like, contributing to the skin infection. So he did a skin scraping and he said, well, you have something called scattered eosinophils. Now, eosinophils is a type of white blood cell that is only seen in two things. Number one, allergic reactions, and two, parasitic infections. So now my little brain, was kind of thinking because now I've been taking my pets to see this holistic vet and I've been hearing parasites and things like that. So, and mind you, I've been horseback riding since I was a kid. I grew up with a cat. I was born with a cat in the household. Okay. So I grew up around animals. I've swam in lakes, Lake Michigan. I went to the beach several times. I've been horseback riding. So, like all of these exposures, right, that could get me a parasitic infection. Okay. So I asked the veterinarian, or not the veterinarian, oh my goodness. So I asked the dermatologist, could my skin, my psoriasis be from a parasitic infection since you saw eosinophils? And his answer to me was, "Oh no, that only happens in third world countries." And I was like, "Okay." He goes, "No, this is an allergic reaction. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a skin patch test on you." So, and if anybody's ever had that done, so what they do is like they put like, I don't know, like each patch, like, or each sticker thing has like, I don't know, I forgot how many like different chemicals on there. So my back was lined up with like three patches on one row, three patches on the other row. So I had like three or four patches, like several different rows, several different columns of different patches, which had blue, and I had to leave it on for several days. I couldn't shower, like, I had to do PTA showers. If anybody pardon my French, hopefully I don't offend anybody. I had to do PTA showers. So, anyway, I had to do PTA showers for a couple days. So, because you can't wash that off, all right? So, and then you go back to the doctor and they take off the tape, they take off, like, the chemical things, and they tell you what you're allergic to. Well, guess what the result was? Nothing. I was not allergic to one single thing. So multiple different household cleaning chemicals were stuck on my back and all these other things like that these chemical like cleaning products that are seen in shampoos, conditioners, laundry detergents, all of that fun stuff, your fabric softeners and household cleaning stuff. Nothing. I was not allergic to one single thing. So then I asked him again, could this be a parasitic infection? Because again, I saw eosinophils. You saw eosinophils on there, which is a sign of parasitic infestation. Oh no. Again, he denies it. Oh no. You probably have, guess what he wanted to label me with? You have atopic dermatitis, which basically is a nice way of saying we don't know why you have your symptoms, so it's probably autoimmune. So he was ready to label me with an autoimmune disease. Okay. So he goes, you have atopic dermatitis, and we don't know why you have your symptoms. It's not from a parasitic infection. This is probably autoimmune. We don't know why you have this. So we're going to start you on a medication. And autoimmune medications, which if you ever watch the TV, if you ever watch, those commercials for psoriasis, eczema, all that fun stuff. So these medications turn around and they suppress your immune system. They're immune suppressants because doctors believe that your immune system is attacking itself. So what they do is they give you an autoimmune suppressant to stop your immune system basically from working. So if you really listen quickly to and you listen closely to all of these commercials, so yes, they have happy skin and they have clearer skin and all of this other stuff. So it makes you think that you have an autoimmune disease. But then what happens? Well, it may cause cancer, it may be life-threatening, and if you die from this, I love that side effect. If you die from this, and you can actually hear this in the quick, like, little blurb at the end of the commercial, right? Because it's suppressing your immune system from fighting off infection and cancer cells. That's what your immune system is supposed to be doing. And I looked at the doctor, I said, "Absolutely not." And he goes, "Well, then I don't know what to tell you." And I said, "Okay." Because and what I didn't mention is by this point, I was also getting bronchitis about 2 to 3 times a year. So I was on a whole bunch of antibiotics and steroids, which screws up your gut, which also screws up your immune system. And then I was also getting sinus infections a couple times a year. So then on top of that, I would be on even more antibiotics and more steroids. So I was getting at least sick like 4 or 5 times a year and being on rounds of antibiotics all the freaking time. So I'm like, and I've already now I'm in my early 30s and I've already had pneumonia twice. So I was like, okay, so you're going to diagnose me with an autoimmune disease when I clearly think that from the, scattered from the eosinophil, like the skin scraping, it shows eosinophils. You're not even going to explore the possibility that I have a parasitic infection. So you're quickly wanting to label me with an autoimmune disease and you're wanting to give me an autoimmune suppressant. Out of your cotton picking freaking loving mind. It's basically what I said to the, or well, maybe I didn't say that. I was thinking that. I said, okay, thank you for your time. So, and that's when I actually asked the veterinarian, I'm like, okay, I know you can only see people. Do you do this for humans or do you know anybody who does this for humans? And that's what got me started into doing holistic health. And it turns out I learned so much. So all of those hormone imbalances, so I actually did have a underlying hormone imbalance because I had normal labs, but they weren't normal for me. And what I realized is that when we do blood work in Western medicine, when we do blood work, we're comparing you to everybody else. And so as long as you're in the normal range, we deem you normal, but it might not be normal for you. And that's why when people go to the doctor and they say, okay, I have all these symptoms, and the doctor goes, well, your blood work is fine. It's all in your head. It's just anxiety. It's just depression. Well, guess what? If your hormones are off balance, such as your cortisol levels, if your estrogen levels are off, if your progesterone, or testosterone, if your thyroid hormones are off balance, guess who has anxiety? Guess who has depression? Guess who has mood swings? Guess who turns around and has irregular cycles? Okay. That's going to be you. All right. And that's exactly what was going on with me. And they wanted to deem me normal, right? And with muscle testing, she was like, "Oh no, your hypothalamus is coming up stressed out and your liver is coming up stressed out." And now mind you, I didn't even tell her about the eosinophils found in my skin scraping and she goes, "And you have parasites in your liver." I was like, "No kidding." I was like so excited to find out that I had parasites because there wasn't a reason why I had my symptoms then. Because parasites actually cause hormonal imbalances. And did you know that your liver is not only is your detoxing organ, did you know that it actually is part of your endocrine system? You can actually look this up and do your own research. If your liver, and now mind you, I had normal liver levels, my SGOT and SGPT were actually within normal range. Okay. So it didn't look like I had any liver dysfunction or anything like that, but my liver was still congested. Okay. So, and when your liver, and I'll get into that in a different section. Um, but when your liver is congested and it's not functioning as related to the thyroid, closely related to your estrogen and progesterone levels, and a lot of other hormones as well. So this explained on why I was having irregular cycles, while I had really bad PMS issues, while I was suicidal a week before my period, while I had skin issues and things like that. So now it took a while. Now you have to understand, I had these skin issues since I was like 5. Now I'm in my mid 30s. And I also had hormonal imbalances since I was a teen. I was suicidal every single month, suicidal, and I've actually tried committing suicide about 3 different times in my life. Thank God I was not successful, but my hormones were so bad that, like, it was just horrific. Mind you, and also, heaven forbid that my period came around the full moon, it was like a double whammy, and I never knew up until I started studying holistic health that full moons actually excite parasites. And parasitic activity actually increases the week of the full moon or the week of the new moon. So if your symptoms get worse within that week, chances are it's parasitic activity. So if I had my period around a full moon, that's when I actually became suicidal. So, and yeah, that was just a whole other ball of wax. And so, anyway, it took 8 months for my skin to start clearing up, and about a year and a half for my skin to start being completely cleared, and my hormones started regulating much. I started I stopped having so many PMS symptoms, and I was able to come off of bioidentical hormones. I started having regular cycles. I don't have the mood swings. I don't even get cramps anymore. Did you know that you're not supposed to have cramps? You're not supposed to have mood swings before your period? So if you have so PMS stands for premenstrual syndrome. PMS, a syndrome, is not normal. Just because it's common, it's not normal. So it took a while for my skin, because liver cells live for 300 to 500 days. So, and quite honestly, 8 months for my skin to start clearing up versus having this for 30 years and nobody being able to figure it out. Now, most people, we're such a quick society, like we want quick fixes, right? We want, like, we expect if we don't see results within like a couple weeks, of taking a supplement, oh, it must not be working. That's not necessarily the case. It took your body a while to get like this. So when you do a full detox and when you give nutritional support, you're not putting a band-aid on things. If it's a quick fix, chances are it's just a band-aid to mask the symptoms. True healing can take time. Okay. So liver cells live for 300 to 500 days. Think about that. So that's almost a year to about a year and a half. Okay. So if your symptoms were related to damaged liver cells, and we're trying to get rid of why your liver cells are damaged, in my case, it was actually toxins and parasites, while giving nutritional support. So that way, when the damaged cells die, because they will replicate, they can replicate a healthier version of themselves. Well, you have to wait for that life cycle of that damaged cell to end. And that can take 300 to 500 days. So that way, when we give the nutritional support and we get rid of the stuff that's damaging the cells, when we get rid of that and give support, they can replicate a healthier version of themselves. So we're not trying to mask your symptoms. We're trying to get to the underlying cause and give nutritional support so your body can truly, truly heal. But that takes time. So, because eventually I would like all of my patients to be able to come off of their medications, which a lot of them did. This is the first time in 20 years that I am off all of medications, allergy medicine, asthma medicine. I am on no hormone replacement therapy. I was on bioidentical hormones and I was on 3 psych meds. Do you know how hard it is to wean yourself off of psych meds? Very, very hard. And for me, it was a combination of not just doing supplements, but then I also had to do a lot of, like, I did a lot of meditation. I did a lot of self-help and retreats. So because I had to change my thinking, because sometimes our stinking thinking, we can get into a habit of how we talk to ourselves and how our brain works. And we have to almost reprogram that into thinking different thought patterns. And that can take time. So it took, actually, for me, it took a couple different things in order for me to get off of psych meds, because it wasn't just about detoxing at this point. While that was the majority of it, the other good portion of it was actually changing my own thought patterns. And doing the combination is how I actually was able to get off of 3 psych meds. So, for the month of February, and I don't know if any of this resonated with you or if you have any health concern that you're kind of a little bit curious about or how quantum nutrition testing works, we are actually doing a special for the month of February because it is Valentine's Day. So normally the consultation is 2 appointments. Each appointment is an hour long. So that's 2 hours of professional consultation time. Normally, that's 250. For the month of February, it's 175, and if you bring in a loved one, then both of you guys get it for 125 instead of 175 for one. So that's 2 hours of professional consultation time. Both of you guys would get it for 125. If it's just one of you, it's 175, which is still an amazing deal instead of 250. So that's 2 hours of professional consultation time. If you have an HSA or FSA account, that does pay for the consultation too, by the way. If that is something that you guys are interested in, then or want more information, if you're just like, well, that sounds really interesting. I want to know how quantum nutrition testing works before I turn around and sign up for a consultation. Great. You can schedule a free 10-minute discovery phone call. Okay. You can call our office at 708-554-6730. This offer is only good till the end of February. So don't hesitate to jump on that. If you have any questions or any comments or want to know more information, you can also type that in the chat box and I will respond to you. And I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Or you can also direct message me through Messenger, through Facebook or Instagram. All right, guys. Hopefully, you guys have a wonderful evening. Hopefully, that answers a lot of questions. And I will talk to you guys next week.